And so I decided I would get out my sheet costume, which is just a t-shirt wrapped around my head and a bed sheet. And the cigar, I hope, helps a little bit to break that barrier. I'm acknowledging the Sufi influence of Gurdjieff's Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson. He traveled extensively in Central Asia and picked up a lot from different Sufi groups. Yeah, I think it was probably his main influence. The Sufis are the kind of medieval hippies of Islam. They're not, they're cool, they're mellow, and they don't want any trouble. They're not bombing people. They get bombed by Muslim fundamentalists who don't think they're, you know, Islamic enough. And it's sad. I shouldn't laugh. It's a bad situation over there. It's always been not such a great situation for Sufis. They are the mystical Muslims. You would barely call them Muslims if you know, they're not. They don't fit your stereotype of that much. They're still, you know, they got sexism. You know, your women can't join. You know, it's that kind of thing. But basically, they're very mellow, and it's about consciousness. All right, within the framework of Islamic theology. And they obviously co-opted a lot of influences. The Naqshbandi sect, which probably is of most of the influence over Gurdjieff, and I'm only speculating when I say that, but if you study Sufism a little bit or read about it, and then you know about Gurdjieff, you recognize certain things that they're saying that Gurdjieff repeats, like everybody's asleep, it's a mechanized existence, you've got to wake up from the conditioning brought on by the world and your relationships and your environment, which all in turn is a symptom of the conditioning of just the time and space and its constraints. All right, you live a conditioned existence, and to decondition your existence is what self-liberation is all about in terms of consciousness. Oh, enough of this! Hand over those Swedish cartoonists right now, or else. You mean the cartoonist that's got all the Muslims upset? That's right. They're not Swedish, they're Danish. Whatever, the Danish cartoonists then. Hand them over or I'll blow up Stockholm. Stockholm's in Sweden. All right, I'll blow up Oslo. Oslo's in Norway. Then there's the most misunderstood principle going on with Gurdjieff. Actually, there's two profoundly misunderstood principles when it's about Gurdjieff. And one of the big ones is Malimatya. Okay, the way of blame. The Malamati Sufis is distinct from the Naqshbandi Sufis. Felt that a teacher who had a lot of followers who really admired him had to do things to put off the excesses of that admiration, to put everybody in perspective about who he was. Now, if the following is large and the excesses are extreme, the Sufi involved might do something outrageous like urinate in the street or something to just put everybody off. Gurdjieff would do things just that extreme and dramatic and theatrical because he was that kind of a personality. But it's always about people, you know, becoming your groupies and discouraging them from being groupies. Okay. Now, if you don't have groupies, You don't have to be concerned about this. Hand over those Danish cartoonists or I'm going to blow up Helsinki.
Helsinki's in Finland.
Then there is dhikr, remembrance of God. Now, for most Muslims, and it's common for all Muslims, it's not just a Sufi thing, there's the prayer where you remember God. Mostly it's recitation by rote, it's just an outward show of piety. And like all such things, it's something that I would think Gurdjieff would be at a distance from. Outward shows of piety don't count for him, with him for much of anything, nor for me either. That the Sufis brought dhikr to a level of meditation, or many orders of Sufis did, the Naqshbandi, in particular. And where they went with that is mysterious, okay? And Gurdjieff came away saying, remember yourself. Now, I know he got that from dhikr. I know that's his way of turning that around to something that would be meaningful for a modern person, to tell a student at the right moment, remember yourself, okay? And it certainly means something to me, and it's certainly a way of, turning yourself around sometimes when you just really, there's no other way to tap into a certain energy. I mean, you're busy, there's distractions, and it's just getting way, way, way far away from you in terms that it's out of reach. It's just like, I'm not always on at all, not far from it, but the energy is reasonably within reach. And sometimes you can feel it just slipping, and it's just not in reach at all. And remember yourself becomes a lifeline. So it's very meaningful. And I know it's a play on dhikr and remembrance of God, but I'm really not that certain one way or another how blasphemous that might be. I know a conventional Muslim would not take too well to it. I don't think that they would. But maybe someone well-read on Sufism would cut Gurdjieff some slack on that. I'm not sure. I do now and then hear from friendly Muslims, so maybe I'll hear from someone out there who can clarify that for us. I'm going to blow up Minsk.
Minsk is in Belarus.
Then there's the Enneagram, which seems to come out of nowhere. Is it Gurdjieff's invention, or is it, as he claims, an ancient diagram that he is only now at liberty to reveal? That could just be another one of the old man's stories. We don't know for sure.
Neil Fox. Is he a secret Muslim? All I can say is anyone can see he was born in Kenya.
If the Enneagram really is a product of medieval Sufism, I think it was the Sufis in India responding to Kundalini and feeling they had to have an answer to it. They had to reply to what that was about, if only from their perspective on the outside looking in at it. And I also think that Gurdjieff may have joined this to where other Sufis were at with Sephardic Kabbalah, which they also might have felt they had to reply to and had to respond to, like, what is this and how does this figure into where we're at with the one true religion thing. So my hunch is Gurdjieff came up with the Enneagram on his own, and that's his way of summing up the influences he had, and that it is as much a reply to Kundalini as it is Sephardic Kabbalah, the Sefer Yetzirah. But it's always possible that it really was a secret diagram created by the Sufis. Far more likely is that Gurdjieff innovated his own diagram off of the influences he was getting here and there and bringing it together. And he was very conscious that it was about Middle Eastern Kabbalah, distinct from Hermeticism or even Ashkenazi Hasidic Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, which is hierarchical. Gurdjieff was responding to was a much older chart of concentric circles, where the inner circle is one and the same with the outer circle. It can't be visualized, but I think he reduced this to a two-dimensional circle with a central triangle and a webwork of lines to complete the 9 points of the circle. if he came up with it on his own, I mean, he's quite the busy boy. Anyways, that's how I see it. He's coming at it as his own kind of neo-Sufi, and he's very aware that he's responding to Kundalini. Gurdjieff trashed Kundalini. I think he saw Kundalini as the competition, and you don't want to go over there. You don't want to go across the street to those people. Stick with me, because he felt that the energy was exterior.
Seriously, is Neil Fox a terrorist? Of course, he is not. Fox only kills for personal reasons.
Seriously, folks, the Enneagram is about nourishment. It's about physical food, physical drinking. It's about breathing as nourishment and breathing as an assist to actually eating physical food. And then there is the nourishment of sense impressions of every kind at every level of experience. And what that's all about is becoming the source of your sensations and perceptions, the source of your emotions, and the source of your thoughts.